Okay, Rams, today's homework is our video over percent proportions. All right, and so what this means is we are learning to solve problems that involve finding percents of a number or finding a part if we're given a percent. Okay, so this right here is called a strip diagram or a percent bar. Okay, what this means is it represents a problem, a situation where if we have 0% of something or 100% of something, okay, and if we have let's say 100% of my class passes their test. Well, if there are 20 students in my class, this number right here, I'd put a 20 right here because that would represent 100% of the class. So this number here always represents whatever is 100%. So this right here is in a really important part. We call this a percent proportion. We write part over whole equals percent over 100. And you will hear us say this a lot in class over the next few days. Part over whole equals percent over 100. Okay. So this is going to take a few minutes, so I want you to listen very carefully as we're going through and explaining the steps here, okay? Alana spent $21 of her $300 paycheck on a gift. What percent of her paycheck did she spend? Well, it's asking me what percent. That is what I'm trying to find out. So I'm going to put a question mark for the percent here. Okay, so if I think about the whole, if I said 100% of something is represented here. Okay, we are talking about her paycheck. So right now we're talking about the whole paycheck. What number represents 100% of the paycheck? $300. That is the whole. So 100% represents $300. So it's going to be the whole paycheck. And it is $300 is the whole paycheck. Now, when we talk about parts, we are talking about the part that she spent. The part that she spent. So part spent. Ooh, that was messy, sorry. And what part did she spend? $21. So she spent $21 of the $300 on a gift. So we want to know what percent is equal to that. So we think about our percent proportion we did up here. The part goes right here. So this is part over whole. Okay, so parts, she spent $21 out of her whole paycheck of $300. So the top row represents everything she spent. The part represents how much she spent. The whole amount is the whole paycheck. Now, my 100% always goes right here. We want to know what percent she spent. Okay, so percent, what percent did she spend? So how much did she spend? Okay, so we can put a question mark or we put an X, whichever one you want it to be. That is your percent proportion. So you can solve these by using the same steps you use to solve your regular proportions. You could divide by 3 and divide by 3. And it would be 7. That would mean 21 divided by 3 is 7. That means she spent 7% of her paycheck. Now, on our percent bar here, if 100% of her entire check represents $300, we're trying to get down to $21. So I'm going to use what's called some benchmarks here. Well, 50% is half. How much money would that be? So what is half of 300? 150. Okay, well, I'm going to go with 21, so it's a lot smaller. Okay, so I'm going to cut that in half and say, well, 25%. Is half of 50%, so what number is half of $150? $75. It's even less than that. What I could do now, I could divide these into fifths, like 5%. But I know that whatever my number is, wherever $21 will be, like maybe here, that's going to be about $21. So what I want to know is what number would be up there. What percent would that be? And if I divided that out, it would be 7%. Okay, we're just trying to figure out this is the money, and this is the percent up there. Okay, so let me zoom out like a little bit for you. So the question is, what percent of her paycheck did she spend? She spent 7%. And this is just a way to visualize it. We'll try a few more. Okay, this one here. The sales tax where Amanda lives is 7%. If she buys $35 worth of merchandise at Target, how much was she charged for tax? Sorry, ignore the did. All right, how much was she charged for tax? So we think about what this problem is representing. Okay, we're looking at how much money you spend on something and then the part of it that you add on for tax. The way tax works is I pay for something and a certain percentage of it is added in as a sales tax. So when I'm looking at this problem, 100% here represents the total cost of the item. So what is it she's buying? How much is the total cost that she's buying? The whole amount. $35. So this side is dollars. $35 is the whole amount that she spent. The 100%. The 100%. I'll put whole cost is $35. All right. The percent. Now, the way percent works for tax is that I take that $35 and I want to know what number is 7% of it, and then I add it on at the end. All right, so if I think about this as 0% and 100%, I'm going to break these down into some benchmarks for us. So 50% is half of it. So half of $35 would be $17.50. Okay, I could get even smaller because I need to know 7%. Okay, another thing I could do is get these down into like $5 increments. I could do that. I could do several things here, different types of benchmarks, but 25% is going to be half of this amount. So half of $17.50, well, half of $18 is $9. So it'll be $8.75. All right, so I'm still going to need about a third or a fourth of this. It's even smaller because I'm looking for 7%, not 25%. So the number I'm working with is going to be we got a 7% again, huh? I didn't even realize that. We need a 7% way over here. So we need an amount that's going to be very small here, okay? So what we're looking for is what number would go right here to represent 7% of $35. Well, I said it may be about 1/3 or 1/4 of this amount. 1/4 of this would be about $2 and something. So let's see what happens here, okay? So now I'm going to show you something really cool, a really neat trick. Are you ready? I'm going to circle this number and this number and this number and this number, okay? This is the percent that I'm working with and my 100%, the part that I'm looking for, and the whole amount. Now, we knew it was 7% was tax. What I want to know is what part am I adding on for tax, okay? So I want to know what part is the tax. What part represents 7% of $35? Now, this is where it's cool. Once you circle these 4 things, let's turn our strip diagram. Oh, I don't have another color here with me, another marker. Okay, we turn the strip diagram here, and I have 4 numbers. But look, this number is the part over the whole equals percent over 100. So I can make this like a ratio right here. Put an equal sign in the middle. Part over whole equals percent over 100. All right, so I take my part, which was this number here. We're trying to find that number. Take that part. The whole amount was the number that represents 100%. My top number is the percent I'm working with. And this bottom number is always 100%. Part over whole equals percent over 100. Now, this is kind of cool because I can look over here. There are a couple of ways. I could try to figure out how many times 35 goes into 100, or I can cross multiply and divide. Okay? But if I look at the top row is the amount for tax. This is a tax in dollars or tax in percent. The bottom number is total cost in dollars and percent. Okay? So to solve, we cross multiply and divide. 35 times 7, 245 divided by 100 is going to be $2.45. There we go. $2.45. All right, my video is going to get too long here pretty soon, but what I'm looking at is the percent here on some jelly beans, and 21 jelly beans, and how many to begin with. So we want to know the whole amount, okay? So we want to know the whole amount. He shares 35%, which was 21 jelly beans. Okay, this is what we're going to solve this time, okay? I want you to try to solve this one, and we'll come into class and you can practice it some more, okay?